Now that we have understood Mendel's monohybrid cross and Mendel's monohybrid ratio, phenotypic ratio 3 is to 1, genotypic ratio 1 is to 2 is to 1, what did Mendel conclude out of it? Mendel gave his laws, three laws he had given, of which the first and second law were based on his conclusions from the monohybrid cross and the monohybrid ratio. So, which were these two laws? Mendel's laws of inheritance. The first law of inheritance was called as the law of dominance. Which law? Law of dominance. It states that in a cross between two organisms, pure for any one pair of contrasting character, the character that appears in the F1 generation is called dominant, and the one which gets suppressed is called as recessive. So, a, in a cross between two organisms which are pure for any pair of contrasting characters, the character which appears in the F1 generation is called dominant, and the one which gets suppressed is called as recessive. So, हमने टॉल पी प्लांट और ड्वार्फ पी प्लांट के बीच में क्रॉस किया, आया कौन सा कैरेक्टर F1 जनरेशन में? टॉलनेस. So tallness is a dominant character, and dwarfness, which doesn't appear, is a recessive character. So tallness is dominant over dwarfness. Tall is dominant over dwarf. Tall is dominant and dwarf is recessive. That is called law of dominance. And it also states that there is always a uniform expression in F1 generation. F1 generation में यूनिफॉर्म एक्सप्रेशन टॉलनेस हमेशा आता है, डॉफनेस छुप जाता है. दो कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग कैरेक्टर में से एक एक्सप्रेस होता है F1 जनरेशन में, वो डोमिनेंट होता है, और जो सप्रेस हो जाता है वो रिसेसिव होता है. Each character is controlled by a pair of factors. So there is a pair of factors, and when it is a pair of dissimilar factor, one factor expresses. तो ये important line है. F1 generation में we have a pair of dissimilar factors, capital T, small t, which we remember are called as alleles. So these are dissimilar factor called as alleles. And alleles के अंदर capital T small t आता है, of which capital T will express and small t will get suppressed. Capital T will express and small t will get suppressed, and capital T will become tall and small t ka dwarfness will become suppressed. So that is a uniform expression of tallness in the F1 generation. And the one which is dominant is expressive, the other is recessive. The one which expresses itself is called dominant, the other one which does not express is called as recessive. So, law of dominance has been explained by the monohybrid experiment. Some other examples of organism and traits showing dominance are in guinea pigs, black color is dominant over white color. तो गिनी पिग्स में बॉडी हेयर जो होता है, बॉडी हेयर black color guinea pig, if it is crossed with a white color guinea pig in the F1 generation, you will get all black. Of course, when black are allowed to interbreed with each other in the F2 generation, we will get 3 black and 1 white. So that is the same logic. In human beings, curly hair is dominant over straight hair. Curly hair, which Negroes have, is dominant over straight hair. And brown eye color is dominant over green or blue color. If somebody has got brown eyes, it is dominant over green eyes. And green eye is dominant over blue eye. And as a matter of fact, not given here, black is dominant over brown. So, black color of eye is dominant over brown. Brown is dominant over green, and green is dominant over blue. So black is dominant over brown also, green also, and blue also. Brown is recessive compared to black, but is dominant over green and dominant over blue. And green is recessive to brown and black, but is dominant over blue. तो सबसे dominant कौन सा color है eyes का? Black, which most of us Indians have. And सबसे least common कौन सा है? Blue, which is the beautiful color of eye, but it is a recessive character. And in jawar, pearly grain is dominant over chalky grain. तो shiny वाला pearly grain is dominant over chalky grain. So pearly grain, which is shining, is dominant over chalky grain. All these are called as laws of dominance. तो ये मेंडल का फर्स्ट लॉ था. Second law is the law of segregation and purity of gametes. ये अच्छा लॉ है, ध्यान से सुनना. Members of an allelic pair in a hybrid remain together without mixing with each other and separate or segregate during gamete formation. And each gamete receives only one of the two factors which is pure for a given trait, which is known as law of purity of gametes. So, law of segregation, also called as law of purity of gametes, members of an allelic pair in a hybrid remain together without mixing with each other. Members of an allelic pair in a hybrid. So, in a hybrid, capital T and small t are hybrid alleles, and capital T and small t remain together with each other without mixing with each other. तो जब capital T और small t आते हैं, capital T will express, small t will get suppressed, and capital T will express. But does, so plant banega tall, but does capital T mix with small t? Does it contaminate the small t? Does it change small t? No. They will remain together without mixing with each other, and when they form gametes, capital T and small t will separate. Capital T and small t will separate, and that is called law of segregation. And each gamete is always pure for either tallness, or the gamete is pure either for dwarfness. Gamete तो haploid होता है, gamete haploid होता है, और gamete जो capital T है is purely for tallness, जो small t है is purely for dwarfness. So this is called as law of segregation or law of purity of gametes. So once again, members of an allelic pair in a hybrid remain together. Capital T, small t remain together without mixing or blending with each other. Capital T does not contaminate small t. And they separate or segregate during gamete formation. They separate or segregate during gamete formation, and each gamete receives one of the two factors and is pure. Capital T is for tallness purely, and small t is for pureness, for dwarfness purely. And that is called law of purity of gametes. And law of segregation can be explained with the help of a monohybrid cross. Reappearance of recessive trait in the F2 generation proves the law. Sir, ये क्या proof है कि जब कैपिटल टी और स्मॉल टी साथ में थे, कैपिटल टी एक्सप्रेस्ड, स्मॉल टी गॉट सप्रेस्ड, बट कैपिटल टी डिड नॉट कंटामिनेट स्मॉल टी, कैपिटल टी डिड नॉट चेंज स्मॉल टी. जब वो गैमीट्स बने तो कैपिटल टी और स्मॉल टी अलग अलग हुए, और यहां पर भी कैपिटल टी और स्मॉल टी अलग अलग हुए. एंड स्मॉल टी से there was reappearance of a recessive dwarf in the F2 generation. So, reappearance of the recessive dwarf in the F2 generation clearly proves that the gametes small t are pure for dwarfness. That small t are pure for dwarfness. And it also proves that when capital T and small t were together, capital T, small t, में capital T expressed, small t got suppressed, but capital T did not mix with small t. Capital T did not contaminate small t. And when capital T, small t separated, they formed gametes, and gametes were pure either for tallness or for dwarfness. And जब small t gametes fuse हुए तो उससे बना dwarf plant. It clearly proves law of segregation and purity of gametes. So, appearance of tall in the F1 generation proves law of dominance. Appearance of tall in the F1 generation proves law of dominance. Reappearance of dwarf in the F2 generation proves law of segregation and purity of gametes. And purity of gametes. So these are the two laws. And law of dominance and law of segregation are proved by these two laws. Monohybrid cross में law of dominance proved by tallness in the F1 generation, and law of segregation and purity of gametes proved by reappearance of recessive parent in the F2 generation. तो ये दो लॉज मेंडल ने प्रूव किए मोनोहाइब्रिड क्रॉस से. एंड देन certain definitions and terms were given by Mendel. What is a character? It is a feature of the organism. For example, height. Height is called as a character. And then trait. It is an inherited character with its detectable variant. फॉर एग्जाम्पल टॉल एंड ड्वार्फ. तो हाइट को क्या कहते हैं? कैरेक्टर. टॉलनेस और ड्वार्फनेस को क्या कहते हैं? ट्रेट. तो हाइट is considered as a character, tallness and dwarfness are considered as traits. And then we have factor, which Mendel said is a unit of heredity, a particle present in the organism responsible for inheritance and expression of a character. So it is a particle present in the organism which is a unit of heredity, which is responsible for inheritance and expression of a character. Today we know Mendel's factor is nothing but a gene which is responsible for inheritance and expression of character. And factor is passed from one generation to the other, and it is inherited via gametes. Then we have gene. It is a particular segment of DNA responsible for inheritance and expression of that character. The word gene was coined by Johansen. Word gene was coined by Johansen. And then we have alleles or allelomorph. When two or more alternative forms of a factor are present together, then they are called alleles. They occupy identical loci on homologous chromosome. तो ये है से क्रोमोसोम नंबर 1 मैटरनल, एंड ये है क्रोमोसोम नंबर 1 पैटर्नल. और उसके ऊपर we have gene for color of eye. Gene for color of eye. This is black color of eye. This is blue color of eye. So these are called as alleles. Means they are alternative forms of a gene or a factor. They are alternative forms. They are hybrids. And these are black color, blue color, alleles for color of eye. And where are they found? On the same position of homologous chromosome, maternal one and paternal one. So alleles are always found on same locus or position of homologous chromosome, and allele will always have dominance and recessiveness. And these words were coined by Bateson. Bateson coined the word alleles or allelomorph. Dominant, the allele that expresses a trait even in the presence of alternative allele in a heterozygous condition. तो कैपिटल टी है and small t है, दोनों alleles है, and capital T will express and the plant will become tall. Even in the presence of small t, capital T will express in the heterozygous condition, then capital T is called as dominant. Then we have recessive, an allele which is not expressed in the presence of alternative allele in the heterozygous condition. So capital T or small t may capital T expresses. Then that is called as dominant. And small t will not express in the presence of alternative allele, then it is called as recessive. It is called as recessive. Then we have phenotype. The external appearance of an individual for any trait is called as phenotype. So the external appearance is called phenotype. For example, height of the stem ciliate, tall and dwarf are the phenotypes. And then we have genotype, the representation of the genetic constitution of an individual with response to character or set of character. The genetic constitution is called as the genotype. So tall plants have genotype capital D or capital T small t, homozygous tall, heterozygous tall but tall, and dwarf plant has small t small t. So what is capital T or capital T small t? Genotype. And what do they form? Tall plant, which is the phenotype. What is small t? Genotype. And it forms dwarf plant, which is the visible appearance, phenotype. And then we have genome. The entire haploid genetic constitution of an organism is called genome. तो एक सेल में न्यूक्लियस होता है, न्यूक्लियस के अंदर मैटरनल डीएनए एंड पैटर्नल डीएनए. They form 23 maternal chromosomes as we did in cell division और 23 paternal chromosomes. तो उसका एक कंटेंट either maternal or paternal, one haploid genetic constitution is called as one genome. So either maternal DNA or maternal chromosomes is called genome. Similarly, paternal DNA or paternal chromosome is called paternal genome. So, haploid is called genome. So, how many genomes do we have in one cell? We have two genomes in a cell. One is a maternal genome, one is a paternal genome. हाँ, gamete में क्या होगा? Diploid will become haploid. So, in a gamete, sperm or egg, we have only one DNA, which is called as its genome. The genome is the haploid constitution of either a sperm or an egg, which is a haploid condition. Homozygous, an individual possessing similar alleles for a particular trait is called homozygous or pure line, which is homozygous or true breeding for one trait. So homozygous is called as pure line, which has got similar alleles. So homozygous breeds true to the trait and produces one type of gamete. For example, capital T is pure breed or homozygous, and dwarf plant is small t, which is pure breed homozygous for dwarfness. So homozygous means always pure breed. And we have heterozygous, an individual possessing dissimilar alleles for a trait is called heterozygous. And heterozygous does not breed true for that trait and produces two types of gametes. For example, F1 generation is capital T small t, which is called as heterozygous or hybrid. So, what is capital T? Capital T, it is pure line, pure breed, which is called homozygous. And what is small t? Small t, homozygous. What is capital T small t? Hybrid. In other words, heterozygous. That is heterozygous. So capital T, small t are pure lines or homozygous. Capital T small t is hybrid or heterozygous. And then we have monohybrid, when heterozygous for one trait is considered and a cross between two parents differing in a single pair of contrasting characters is done, that is called monohybrid. Heterozygous for one trait only, tall and dwarf, and the crosses done between two parents differing in a single pair of contrasting characters, that is called monohybrid. समझो, it is heterozygous for two traits and a crosses done between two parents differing in two pairs of contrasting character. Then that is called dihybrid. That is dihybrid. And समझो it is three traits. Then it is called trihybrid. तो एक ट्रेट होगा तो मोनोहाइब्रिड. अभी दो ट्रेट्स समझो, टॉल ड्वार्फ एंड वायलेट फ्लावर व्हाइट फ्लावर, दोनों कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग कैरेक्टर्स एक साथ कंसिडर करेंगे, देन इट इज कॉल्ड डायहाइब्रिड. एंड समझो टॉल ड्वार्फ and then violet flower and white flower and inflated pods and constricted pods, तीन कैरेक्टर कंसिडर एक साथ किए, then it is called trihybrid. And monohybrid, dihybrid, trihybrid. F1 generation, F1 stands for filial or offsprings produced in sexual reproduction. Feline means a son, and the progeny offsprings produced from a cross of homozygous parents is called first filial generation. So capital T into small t से हमको क्या मिला था? कैपिटल टी स्मॉल टी. तो दोनों के क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन से हमको मिला F1 generation, which is called as first filial generation. That is, offsprings produced from cross of homozygous parents. And F2 generation is the second generation produced by selfing of F1 generation. So capital T and small t से आपने क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन किया, you got F1 generation. And F1 generation के plants का self pollination किया, then that is called as F2 generation. Then that is called as F2 generation. Selfing of F1 is F2. Parents का cross pollination is called as F1, and self pollination of F1 produces F2. And then we have Punnett square or checkerboard method. It is a diagram that shows the possibility of combinations in a breeding experiment named after a British physicist, Reginald Punnett. तो ये जो checkerboard method है, this is called as Punnett square, proposed by a British physicist, Reginald Punnett. तो ये Punnett का था. And then we have homologous chromosomes, morphologically and structurally similar chromosomes present in a diploid organism are called homologous chromosome. They have identical gene loci bearing allele. तो ये है क्रोमोसोम नंबर 1 मैटरनल एंड ये है क्रोमोसोम नंबर 1 पैटर्नल. Then these are called homologous chromosome. और उसके ऊपर we have gene for color of eye black, gene for color of eye blue. Then these are called alleles at the same position. We have gene for color of hair yellow, gene for color of hair black. Then these are called allele found at the same locus. We have gene for color of skin brown. We have gene for color of skin white, fair. Then so these are alleles and these are on same locus of homologous chromosomes. So these are all your terminologies. Chalo, today's lecture was very simple. Next session, we go into a beautiful logic, the dihybrid cross. And then we will do logic of trihybrid. उसमें मजा आएगा. Lots of mathematics involved there. It'll be good fun. Chalo, this was simple today. I hope you all have understood. See ya. Take care.